are good to go, Corbin.
Hi, my name's Corbin Shanklin. I'm a reporter with the Illuminerdi.com. I'm here speaking with Zazie Beetz and Winston Duke today about their upcoming film, 9 Days. So the first question I wanted to ask was, Winston, what was your experience working with director Edson Oda in bringing Will to life?
Oh man, it was incredible. Edson's an incredibly heartfelt, genuine guy, and the movie is deeply based on and based on the life of the character Will is based on the life of his uncle that committed suicide at the age of 50. And there was a lot of reverence to kind of reclaiming the story of his uncle's life, because he stated that in his family, his uncle's life really became defined by one action, even though he had this large, long, beautiful life. Like, it was defined by one action. And it was an opportunity to really reclaim the life by showing an afterlife that this uncle was part of in choosing these spirits on who gets to be born. So it was just incredibly soulful and meaningful, and he gave us a lot of room to play on set. And it was a really great time.
That's amazing. And Zazie, so in the film, Emma's character is very optimistic, very grateful for her experiences, despite only existing for a few days. Where do you think that love and light inside Emma comes from?
I think that it is her, I think her sense of presence and sense of just appreciation of where she's at right now. I think that's kind of her sort of like archetype in a way, is Winston said it earlier nicely, the defiant optimist. But then also in being okay with when things don't feel good. I think there are moments Emma and Will share that Will is emotional and she's also reacting to that emotionally, but she chooses to sit with it and she doesn't try to avoid it. And I think that sense of presence is important. I think to have sort of this like accepting life view. And then also, again, everything is new, everything is interesting. And I think that almost like a child, there's everything is engaging, and even scary things, or even, painful things, I suppose, like kids, I feel like play games all the time of like, who can like not get hurt. And so I think there's that element of it too. She has a childlike wonder because she hasn't experienced anything before.
Certainly. That's fascinating. So both of your characters share a very close bond with Benedict Wong's character, Kyo. How do you think that relationship shapes Will and Emma?
I think Kyo is he's the checks and balances to me in this world. And I think, he's the one semblance of unspoken familiarity. And I think it's that idea that Kyo was watching Will before he even got to this space. And Kyo was familiar with Will before he even got to that space. So there's a sense of love that's there. But one of the strengths of this movie is that it defines love in its most like agape sense, like love as an action that's not tied to romanticism and that's not tied to like sexual intimacy. It's just love because of love of existence. You know what I mean? So I think Kyo gets to show me a kind of love that I don't always show myself as well. And I learn how to really recontextualize that as I interact with these spirits, and in particular Emma.
And I think Kyo also has a type of softness that Will doesn't have, because he hasn't had the same experiences as well. He's had his own individual set of experiences, but I think the pain and trauma that Will sort of reflects on throughout the film is something Kyo isn't totally familiar with. And so there's this, I feel like this eagerness, which is where I think he meets Emma as well, of wanting to know what things are like and having an optimism about everything.
Certainly. I was wondering, how does working on a project like 9 Days compare to working on big blockbuster franchises like Black Panther and Deadpool?
I think it depends. 9 Days. Most of what we shot was in a studio as well, and there was a lot to chew and a lot to kind of process, and perhaps sort of like the physicality of like a big blockbuster wasn't a part of it, but I think there was a lot of uh, exploration within the characters and kind of like I don't know, work in that space. And honestly, also even in big blockbusters, like you do character work, you don't not do it. And it just is how it kind of manifests itself in a different way. But you do, I think there's work in that as well. And so I'd say this indie definitely felt, I would say, more intimate. In some ways there's, which Winston, you were talking about earlier, a bit more ownership of what you're doing. You know, I think sometimes in a blockbuster you can get sort of plopped in and you're like, all right, I played this part and that's my role in this huge expanse of stuff. But 9 days, I think we all felt like we shaped it together in a way. But yeah, the work is similar, I would say, to a degree.
Fascinating. And Winston?
Yeah, I would agree. I would echo that point with Zazie that the work is a lot more similar than it is different. I feel like, you know, whereas on a big Marvel film, you have all these, you know, things that are built for you. We had a large scope to do in a really short time, so it still felt like a really big movie. Like I was like, man, I wish we had 40 days to do this instead of 24. I wish, you know, there was more time to explore some of these scenes, but it was that lack of time that allowed us to improvise and really dial in to shoot that in a short term. A lot of our action was done on a set, just like a Marvel piece. And then just like really big movies, you have to have a really clear director that, you know, I would say Edson is very much like an auteur director. So it felt like working with Jordan Peele. It felt like working with Ryan Coogler. It felt very similar to working with someone who has a super clear vision in what they want. So it felt way more similar than it did feel different. I like Zazie said, you know, we just had a lot more ownership of this ship than a lot of the other ships that are made by the mouse, you know?
Certainly. Well, that's wonderful. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you both today. I loved watching your performances in 9 days. Speaking of these, it's been a dream come true. I loved us and Black Panther and Atlanta and Invincible and Deadpool too. And I can't wait to see you in more projects. So
nice talking to you, and hopefully we meet again.